Hello, this is Dogcesy, and today I'll be talking about the current banner finisher. Yeah, but I have time to record this, it's already the current banner. Yeah, I'll be talking about the current banner with Bagpipe and Passenger. Um, yeah, I think that's about it. So it's that, I guess. I'll first talk about Bagpipe, which is a DP on Q Vanguard on Quad Charger right now, where she gave 1 DP cost on every queue, as well as having the full initial cost refund on retreat, I'm pretty sure. The initial cost of 13, so like, when you first deploy her, you'll get back the full amount, but on subsequent deployments, she will cost like even more, 16, all that kind of stuff like that. But even then, you only get 13, which is still considerably more compared to other operators, where you only get back half of their deployment costs. So yeah, and I'm pretty sure her module actually helps her, it actually makes her even more viable, I won't say broken, where instead of one, she gains two, and gains back the full deployment cost on retreat. So like first time deploy her for 13, you'll get back 13 when you retreat her. Second time, when you deploy her for like 16 cost, you'll get back the full 16 cost instead of just the initial 13 cost of hers, if you get what I mean. So yeah, the module would actually does actually help out a lot, but it's by no means necessary to be honest. So yeah, I guess I'll talk about her talent now. Each attack, she has a chance to crit, like for extra damage as well as attacking a additional target, which is very nice. It is somewhat synergistical with like her other skills, which I'll talk about with her skills, not other skills, with her skills. Yeah, and her second talent, which is what everyone pretty much only talk about, is that all Vanguard operators will gain initial SP, which is actually very good, especially in the flag pipe, was it flag pipe combo? I think it's, or is it, I don't know. The flag pipe combo, I'm pretty sure is what it's called. And you run her and where you run her and the flag bearers. I mean, yeah, but as I've mentioned in my other video, when I was talking about Zima, in certain cases, like in high risk CC with the DP regen drop, where the DP regeneration is decreased, the one cost that Zima drops Vanguards by can somewhat pseudo replace the 6 initial SP since you're deploying it earlier if you don't have Bagpipe. But in general, Bagpipe would be better. Bagpipe is somewhat like a better Zima, to be quite honest. But yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I'll talk about skill 1 first, which you won't really be using it too much, to be quite honest. Because in most cases, skill 2 and skill 3 is better. But yeah, skill 1 buffs her attacks as well as increasing her attack speed as well. Which, mm, which I which I guess is fine. It's not the worst skill to be honest. It does somewhat help synergize with the skill, with her not skill, with her talent. Cause since she does gain extra attack speed, which is still a considerable amount because she does have quite a relatively fast attack speed in the first place already. So yeah. What else shall I talk about? Yeah, I think that's more or less about skill 1. It's good, but in most cases, skill 2 and skill 3 better. I guess probably the only way you may want to use her is for like, I don't know, crowd clearing, I guess. If she's able to one shot them, like maybe against the like normal slugs, I guess it's good. But if even for crowd clearing, most of the case, skill 3 will be better. So I guess I'll top the skill 3 now then. Attack interval is increased from 1 second to 1.7 seconds, where she gains an increased block count, so from 1 to 2. So gaining attack and defense, and each of her attack deals attack 3 times. So whenever she attack once, whenever she will attack like 3 times in a row, which does actually help out with her talent, since each of the single attack does have a chance to trigger her talent. So yeah, this is really like her main DPS skill from what I've heard. Pretty sure the name is different though in game, but the skill yeah, actually a very strong skill from what I've heard, and everything is from what I've heard because I do not own her. Should I said though, to be honest. I kind of wanted her, very since the CC skin is actually very nice, very beautiful. But yeah, the skill that most people use for in high risk content, generally not the general skill that people use in like general content from what I've heard, but this is like the general skill that people use in CC because of how strong she is with skill active in like lane holding. In lane she's able to hold down the lanes very effectively with skill 3, but it's active. So that can allows you stop more time for you to get back like get other operator setup and all. Especially in at M3 with her talent and even a port 5, it actually pretty much allows you to heady drop it. But yeah, allows you to somewhat heady drop it the skill tree. So yeah, it's actually a very strong skill. And then skill 2, which is most of the case going to be the general skill that people use because it is auto triggered compared to the manual trigger. As well as the fact that it does a very considerable amount of damage in the first place already. So yeah, the next attack will do 160% while also attacking additional another type. So attacking twice instead of thrice for the skill 3. A very strong skill for generalist, just auto deploy. As well as the fact when you just deploy her, she will already have like how to say, she already have one charge up at M7, not M7, at rank 7, and port 1, just port 1 only, but at port 5 and M3, so meaning the best she can be already she'll have 2 charge immediately, 2 out of 3 charges. So from what I've heard, my friends has kind of used Bagpipe skill 2 as like a pseudo Phantom, like deploy, skill 2, burst, retreat. Skill 2 like have a 2 charge, just burst the enemy, kill the enemy, and then just retreat. Kind of like just picking off specific targets, especially since that of a 1 cost block. It does also help facilitates that kind of picking off like way that my friend plays him or plays her, not him. Yeah, I wish it is actually the general skill, cause even without like the defense buffs from the skill 2, she does have considerable amount of damage for a vanguard and all the high attack. So even just using her skill 2, she should be able to one shot most enemies, like most of the early games enemies, which is what you'll be using her for, which is when you'll be using her for lane holding, because otherwise you'll be using her for like fast deploy shenanigans. Even skill 3 can be somewhat used for fast deploy shenanigans, though it does need her to be a port 5 and M3. So in order to get the SP cost up, way up, so I'm pretty sure it's 33. Yeah, 33. So you're only wait to 7 seconds. Compared to skill 2's like instant burst. Skill 3 does have a somewhat down that initial downtime, but can be somewhat used for pseudo redeploy, like pseudo fast redeploy. So yeah. Yeah, actually a very strong operator, though in most cases, Vigna and Bloom can do her job quite well as well. So by no means necessary if you're just going for general content, but if you're going for high risk content, you may find her to be extremely necessary, if anything, for talent as well as for her holding down, her ability to hold down lanes in the early game, while also scaling in the late games to pick off enemies, like specific enemies. So yeah, if you're just going for general content, not a high priority. If you're going for high CC, you might find her necessary. I don't really know. I haven't really played much high CC, to be honest. And the highest I've went was for CC Let's, like CC Let. Pretty sure it's the 4th one. That's the name of the 4th one. That's the highest I went for risk 22 for that one, and that's about it. I can't even get past risk 18 on the recent CC5. So yeah, think of that what you mean. So yeah. So I'll move on to passenger now. For passenger, I guess yeah, his trait where he deals arc damage as well as inflicts slow, and the attacks can chain up to 4 enemies, but each chain the damage is reduced by 15%. So the first attack it will do how high is the attack actually? Do like 609 arc damage on this first hit, and after next hit it will do I think it's 85% of his attack. Next hit will do 70%, and then we'll do 55%. and that will stop. You get what I mean? Yeah. What else I want to talk about? I think that's it. You generally won't be using him for damage, from what I've heard. And I don't own him. I mean, I do own Lazy, so, but yeah, I don't own Lazy, but I'm more or less just kind of transforming her. And Lazy hasn't exactly been as effective as I would hope for her to be, but I am only using Lazy at E1, so maybe she'll get better E2, since just like a passenger, she will only gain the trait buff at E2, so yeah. I don't know. I haven't really had much experience with casters, so can't really say much. But yeah, I guess I'll talk about his talent. And attacking enemies with 80% or more health, increase the damage that passenger will do by 20% for 3 seconds. Kinda counterintuitive, to be honest. As you want like the enemies to be healthy, but you can't kill the enemies as well as effective if they're healthy. I guess it kinda helps him scale. I don't know. Kind of feels kinda counterintuitive, to be honest. But I guess any attack buff is actually very nice on passenger because of how lacking his damage is. But yeah, his attack speed is actually quite low. It's the same as that of like the AoE snipers. But yeah, any beat is nice, especially since it does have like a duration. So I attack an enemy with 100 health, and afterwards he attacks another enemy with like 50% health. But he'll still gain the attack buff from the previous attack. Just that the attack buff will not refresh. Figure what I mean. Yeah. I mean it's nice, but generally only affect to one attacks. Unless you're using skill 2, which drops his attack interval. Because of his slow attack speed. But yeah, other than that, it's only pretty much going to be like buffing your current and your next attack, which isn't bad by all means. But just kind of feels counterintuitive since you want your enemy to be higher health. Yeah. His other talent, when there are no enemies in the 4 adjacent tiles of him, he gains increased attack. Which is actually very nice, especially since most case scenario, there shouldn't be enemies like in the 4 tiles around him. Since he is range. You get what I mean? So yeah. But it will be map dependent, I guess. But a very nice skill, a very nice talent for him to have. And I'll talk about skill 1, I guess. It's a skill that you'll generally use for annihilation, as well as maybe early game IS. Yeah, I guess so. That's what I've heard from like other people. But my friends only mainly use his skill 1 for annihilation since it's lazy. Don't be like him. Since generally his other skills are stronger. But the fact that you can use his skill 1 for annihilation only speaks the fact that his skill 1 is actually already decent. So the next attack deals increased damage. At just rank 7, it's actually a very high modifier of 210%. Though sadly it doesn't hold any charges. That is my only issue with his skill. It doesn't hold charges. Even though it's like a very fast recharge skill that is auto triggered. Why does it not hold charges? That's my only peeve with it. But I don't own him, so I don't know. Maybe if it does hold charges, it will make it very broken. I don't know. I don't really know. I haven't experienced it. This is just what I'm feeling for my friends. But even with the charges, it's actually quite a good rating. So next attack deals increased damage, as well as increasing the slow effect from 0.5 seconds to 1 second to 1.5, not 1 second, to 1.5 seconds, which is to 1.5 seconds, or from 0.8 if it's module. I haven't thought about its module, I guess. I just know the module makes it even better. This increase the slow, just the slow already, and as well as in reducing the damage reduction from 15 to 10%. But yeah, the module actually does help me out a lot, to be honest. Especially with the extra attack speed as well as attack. Does help him a lot for DPS or for damage. Yeah. I mean, it's generally not necessary, but a very nice thing to have. His module is. So yeah. Yeah. As for why it does include like it specifically state that you bounce up to 4 targets, and that's because of his trait. in E0 and E1, you can only target up to 3. So with skill 1 active, it allows you to target 1 extra enemy. I guess it's nice for you to include, to say about, but at E2 it doesn't matter. This is just, it's both for. So yeah. So yeah, skill 1 is actually very good, more for annihilations or for AFK strats. But generally, you'll use his other skills. Skill 2 is from what I know, is his general skill that people go for, where his attack range is increased, having a small attack buff, which I guess is kinda bad, it's kinda low, but it is good enough because he does have actually decent attack after the buffs. Seriously, chain casters have been buffed over and over again, which is understandable because of how weak they feel. How weak they feel. Like even right now, they still feel somewhat underwhelming. Then again, so are AoE casters. Both of them feel very underwhelming in most cases. Like if you want damage, like I said, AI skill 2 is generally the better AoE caster, which is kinda sad, but based on my own experience, yeah, I would say so as well. AI skill 2 is actually a very good AoE skill. Yeah, that's about it, I guess. No, that's not about it. But yeah. Another thing about the skill 2 that does is reduce his attack interval. It, as I mentioned, does somewhat synergize with Talent 1, I guess. But Talent 1 generally won't be activated much in the first place. I don't even know whether Talent 1 can even stack with with itself or not. I will presume it can, to be quite honest. Because if it can't, it generally would tell us otherwise if it can't. It will tell us that it cannot or have like a like a limit, like a stack limit. But since the talent doesn't say anything, I will presume that the talent can stack upon itself, like limitlessly, just that it's hampered by its attack speed, which is actually very slow, like I said. But yeah, so the skill 2 actually reduce it, as well as allowing the attack to bounce up to 5 targets instead of 3 or 4, depending on your promotion. But this is the general skill that people will go for. The attack interval reduction, she does help out with the slow, instead of like increasing the slow duration, you're increasing the chance you apply it, which is generally a lot better. Especially since that if you're going to skill 1 does the skill 1 extra duration kind of fall off if you're going to kill the enemy. So skill 2 is generally better. So yeah. And what else do I want to talk about? So yeah, the general skill that people will go for. Yeah, I think that's about it, to be honest. I don't really have much to talk about since I don't really have much experience with chain casters. Even for lazy. In most cases, I found like AoE snipers would actually be will do better than them because of not only the deployment, like only them being cheaper, their attack and attack interval is similar enough. So that in general content, you much rather use AoE snipers over chain casters or even AoE casters. So yeah, that's about. So yeah. Okay. So the general skill, the skill that you gain the most out of, as well, and then skill 3, which it's kind of been like the laughing stock of him. First, for a skill that hold charges, it has a very long SP charge of 34. It does reduce to 30, but at M3, but still a lot. So what the skill does is that you immediately generate a lightning storm, where the target will be the highest HP. So yeah, you target the highest HP within a range, and then create a lightning storm around him. Actually, don't even know whether they're like a. I didn't say much, okay, yeah. So the lightning storm will last for 4 seconds, dealing 130% damage to a random enemy within the lightning storm every 0.5 seconds. And the text would also does have its trait applied, so it would slow as well as jump to enemies, but really underwhelming to be honest. There's only like 8 attacks for a 34-second. Yeah, you get what I mean. But it's really more of like a burst skill. Like it doesn't even really kill bosses that effectively, to be honest, because of how short the duration is. But yeah, for what my friend has used him for, it's really more of a panic button that your defenders are getting overwhelmed. Quickly deploy the skill tree to clear out the wave so that your defender can survive on that so you don't leak. It's kind of sad to be honest. But yeah, like I said, I don't own him, so I wouldn't really know like how to use it. But that's how my friend who owns him use the skill tree as a panic button, a panic clear button. Yeah, I guess. Uh, by no is by no means as bad as he was at launch, like during his release, but he's still not a high priority to get. To be quite honest, he is fun to play with for my friend. He's very fun to play with, like in general content, but as well as IS because of his slow, his consistent slow, but otherwise, don't really. He's not really that good, I guess. But by no means are bad operators. Like as I always say, there are no operators that are bad. They all serve their individual niches, which he does also. But in most cases, other operators are better. So yeah, moving on to Hang, who is a healing defender or guardian as they're called now, where his talent says there is increased defense, and if the tile behind where he's facing is a high tile or also known as a range tile, the healing effectiveness to the operator on the range tile is increased to 75%. Why is it so specific? If it's more general, it will actually be much better. But I guess the defense increase is actually quite good, especially since his defenses aren't actually that good compared to like Kuora, which is so yeah. But he does also have his talent stuff better and all. But yeah, I guess he does help me out. In case of running, I actually like his E2 more than the skin, but his skin is also quite good as well. Makes it look very professional compared to how goofy it looks in EZO. But so I'll move on to the skills. The skill one, where it's defensive recovery, so meaning it recovers when it gets hit, same as Lixam. Where after charging up, the next attack will immediately heal a nearby enemy ally that can be healed for 140% attack. Which I would say would actually have been his general skill had he could actually heal himself. Why can't he not heal himself? Seriously, why? All the other healing defenders can heal themselves. Why can he not? Even like seriously, why can he not heal himself? Like Simon even can heal himself. Especially since he's defensive recovery, so he will get hit. He will be hurt. If anything. So yeah. This skill could actually have been he actually be a lot more viable in my opinion if he could actually heal himself with skill 1. He can kind of like hold down lane store by himself with just skill with the consistent healing from the skill 1. Seriously. Hypergrip just allow his skill 1 to actually heal himself. I feel like it could have been a much better like lane holder. Especially since his attack is actually quite decent. At least for a healing defender. Compared to Gumi. Or Spot. Yeah. He could actually hold down lanes had his skill 1 actually allowing him to heal himself. But because of that, yeah, very disappointed to be honest. And he holds a special place in my heart. He's my first 5-star. I use him quite a fair amount to be honest, even if I didn't exactly like build him for a very long time. But I use him on and off at E0. If I needed like extra defender. It's kind of sad to be honest. In case I'm wondering, yeah, this is what I'm using him at. I'm using at E0. It's just kind of sad. I mean, it's kind of nice. Since you can use it for emergency healing, since at M3, you can have it M3. So it's a lot of, like, you need to, it's going to be a lot of investment just to get him to M3. Where he has immediate 1 charge. But another thing is, it doesn't hold charge. If he cannot kill himself, at least let him hold charges. Seriously. I'm just very pissed off by the skill, to be honest. It had so much potential, but Hypergrid just gutted it. Just not allowing to either hold charge or heal himself. So sad to be honest. It's very sad to be honest. But yeah. So if for some reason you decide to use him over the other healing defenders, skill 2 would be the general skill you'll be using for. Where he stops attacking, and instead heals, gains attack, increase attack and defense, and the healed allies, whenever you heal an ally, the ally will gain 1 SP. Which is actually very nice. It does allow it to somewhat become like a pseudo Saria. But yeah, it's defensive recovery, so that's kind of what hampers it, to be outright honest. But at least this skill allows him to heal himself. That is about as much I can say. But yeah, if the SP cost has honestly been a bit lower, instead of like 23, instead lower to maybe like 18, I would actually say that he would actually be viable, to be outright honest. But yeah, actually a very strong skill in very specific situations, because I say if you want to use Saria skill 2, it's very slow. There's like a 9-second cooldown. A 9-second cooldown for every single attack. And then skill 1 can only heal those less than 50%, and then skill 3 has a very long downtime compared to him. And yeah, he only does heal like every 2.5 seconds. But the amount of healing that he does is actually a lot. Not actually a lot, it's actually a considerable amount. But that is at M3. At rank 7, it's kinda there. I found that the healing often doesn't exactly like come through when he wants it to come through. I haven't used him a lot. My hung is E1 right now, so I've been using quite a considerable amount of time right now. But I found him to be kind of underwhelming, even with his skill 2. Because in most cases, Gami's skill 1 is actually provides more healing. The reason why you might use it is for the defense as well as the jank SP recovery, I guess. By no means a bad, just very niche. To be honest, it's very disappointed in him. He has so much potential, but this that Hypergrid just decided to like gutter him. He had so much potential. It's kind of sad, to be honest. It's very disappointed. He had so much potential. I guess I'll move on to Maya, I guess. Maya is a summoner, same as like deep color scene and everything. I've talked about her briefly in the other video, so I'll break her down like even more right now. Can summon up to 5, 3, 4 or 5 at E0, 1 and 2 respectively. And any enemies that attack the altars have their attack speed drop by -25. I'm not exactly sure how this works. Doesn't tell us like how long it lasts for or stuff like that. But yeah, I guess it will apply to like ranged enemies as well, which I guess is nice, but it's like a nice thing to have, but generally won't really factor much. Skill 1, where all the authors gain physical and art dodge, which is actually very nice, I guess. Yeah, at masteries, it also affects the allies as well, adjacent allies, which is actually very good, to be quite honest. But at the same time, don't rely on it per se, since it is a percentage chance, and the authors generally aren't actually that bulky, to be quite honest. But I can see cases where you may want them to be more survivability. But in most cases, skill 2 will be what you're going for. Where you just detonate the altars. So this is the altar. You'll do arts damage in the 9 tile in the surrounding 8 tiles and the tile itself to all nearby enemies as well as stunning them. And afterwards you retrieve all your altars, all your summons with Magalan. Actually very strong. Actually very strong skill. So you deploy the autos, have them attack, stuff like that. HP drop to low, just detonate them. Okay, it's instant. Detonate them, do the quick burst damage, maybe clear the crowd when the autos have gathered in front of them. After redeploy them again. So yeah, I can't really say much about it since I haven't built up my mayor yet. To be honest, I haven't built up my mayor, so I can't really say much about the viability. But from what I've heard, the explosion actually can deal damage to drones, flying units. So that is a plus, I guess. But yeah, a very strong skill when used correctly. Just that the skill ceiling, as well as like map and enemy specificity, is very high. So by no means a bad skill, just that it's very specific, like condition specific. Yeah, I think that's really about all that I really have to say about Mayor. I just kind of talk about it very shortly, but by no means a bad summoner. Just that the niche she provide is really a very situational and conditional. Otherwise, in most cases or not, Sin or even Deep Color would do a better job than her, or Magalan, I guess. But yeah, by no means a bad operator. But like I said, I don't really have much like research with her. If you want to see like her at full potential, I'm pretty sure she and Stewart could solo like one of the garrison stages for interlocking competitions and as well as other stages as well. Yeah, by no means bad. If anything, I would actually did find use for her in IS. Guess we should talk about it. There was a one time where I got her I got her as like the field operator. I actually did use her for quite a while. I actually did kind of had fun with playing around with her. Like I said, that's how I got it for. That's how I use her. Use the autos to tank until they dying, then you just boom. Then you shift them back. And then afterwards, like how do I say? Even in the late game, or actually middle game for me, I actually never completed IS. And yeah, actually in the mid game, I actually did have fun using like how do I say? The boss was attacking my defender, and then I deployed the autos all around the boss. It just detonated. Did like a huge burst damage. It was fun, you know. But yeah, by no means bad. Just kind of overshadowed by the other summoners, like Sin or even Magalan. So yeah, I guess I should talk about the module as well. I'm pretty sure she will have the first auto that you summon will you not use like a deployment limit, as well as it does not fund the deployment limit whenever you treat the last summon or if it's knockout. Which is actually a nice quality of change, especially since that she does hold up to 5. So if you're already using like other summoners or other operators, it would allow you to actually deploy more autos to either hold lanes, which they aren't really the best since they do only have one block, but they do have decent stats already by itself. Yeah. So yeah, by no means a bad skill, I guess. By no means bad. I guess I'll talk about Istina now, which I have someone talk about in the other video as well, same as the other 5 stars. Except for Hung, I guess, but yeah. Yeah, she is a slow supporter, same as Angelina over here, who she is compared with the most from what I've heard. As well, same as like Awkward as well, stuff like that. Pretty sure like the official name is not slower in the global. Pretty sure it's called like the cow binder or something like that. Why? To be honest, what does it even mean? I guess like the cow or something, maybe like deceleration or something like that. But the binding is only like a status that's only in Vanguard. No, not Vanguard. It's already in Arknights. It's kind of confusing, I guess. Like the naming is kind of I don't know. Maybe they'll change it back to maybe they'll change it to slower afterwards to maybe help clarify stuff. But right now it's kind of confusing. Maybe to newer players, but yeah. Her talent. Actually, never talk about her talent. Well, she drops her defense by 35%. on top of already very low defense, like seriously. But I guess because of how low it is, it doesn't really decrease the defense by much, but you're still decreasing her already low defense, which isn't very well. So because of that, my friend has found her to be very frail. That female friend of mine does not actually have Angelina or Suzerain, so she has actually been using Istina instead. She found her to be very frail. She dies like very fast against physical attacks. The only saving grace she has is that she has actually a decent different arts resistance. So she can actually survive like attacks from casters or like certain bosses, but she's actually very frail. Now we're just drinking water. Talking for 30 minutes, alright, thirsty. Yeah, but it does however increase the attack speed, which actually does help out since the main reason why you'll be using a slow supporter is for the slow. So yeah, it's actually very so increasing attack speed actually does help out. And then which is even further amplified by her skill 1, where her attack interval is greatly reduced. 1 second at rank 7, and then by 1 second at mastery 3. Which from what I've heard isn't as high, isn't as like as fast as Angelina's skill 2. But the difference is Istina will still attack even without the skill being active, as well as actually doing more damage. Because don't forget about this small thing. So yeah, Istina will actually still do damage with the skill 1. Even though it may not be as much, the perma may not be as much as Angelina, it's actually still good, already a very considerable amount. It's more than good enough, to be honest. In most cases, Angelina skill 2 amount of slow is kind of overkill, to be quite honest. Actually, the fact that it lasts longer, from what I've known. I don't know, it lasts the same amount. Okay, but yeah, but actually, skill 1 is actually a very good perma slow skill already by itself. It may not seem like much, but the utility it does provide is very great, since she can still both deal damage as well as slowing down, unlike Angelina who can only slow due to the fact of this, as well as the fact that she will not be attacking during her skill active. So yeah, by no means bad. It's more of like the niche skill, I guess, the more the situation specific skill that she has. And skill 2, where it's more of the general skill that people will go for, is compared to her skill 3, to Angelina's skill 3. Okay, so I'll talk about the Istina skill 2 first. Increase attack, expand the attack range to like almost that of Aya Fajala. Just that the corner tiles are kind of gone. So attacking two additional targets, which is actually very good. The attack speed may seem low, but you know, it does have a 10 so which actually will help out, which is even more at mastery 5, not mastery pot 5. So yeah, it's actually a very strong skill from what I've both experienced as well as my friend. Since in most cases scenario, her skill 2 can actually be a substitute for Suzuan's skill 2 or Angelina's skill 3. Just that the timing is going to be very important because of how much the downtime is compared to like other Angelina's skill 3 where the downtime is very low. Not exactly, it's half of us. Or Suzan where it's infinite duration. That is the only thing I kinda have with her. That's the only thing my friend had with her. Is that it's very timing specific. But yeah, it's actually more or less the general skill that you go for, since if you're going to go for slow, it's generally more for like bulk slow, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, by no means a bad skill as well. So skill 2 is more of like the general skill to use for, and the skill 1 is we want to like more situation specific, I guess. So yeah, by no means a bad skill. Yes, yeah. Alright, then I guess I'll do my wrap up now, I guess. My closing thoughts on it. Yeah. So Bagpipe. A very strong DP on Q Vanguard that excels greatly in, say, like high level of plays, like against high level plays. as well as like high risk CC. But otherwise, in general content, Plume and Vigna can do her job quite effectively well. Skill 1, you pretty much won't, you rarely ever have a need to use it. Skill 2 is a general skill to use, and skill 3 is, how do I say, like if you want to bring out the big guns per se. Since the skill 3 helps her hold down lanes very well. So yeah, skill 2 general use, skill 3 if you want her to hold down lanes hold down if you need the extra damage like for lane holding. So yeah, and then with mastery 3 can also be somewhat, both skills can be somewhat used as like how do I say, pseudo phantom I guess. Okay, you pick off specific enemies I guess. So yeah, very strong operator, just that if you're just playing for general content stuff like that, won't be a high priority to get. And I'm pretty sure she is the operator in the third store. I haven't checked yet, to be honest. I just woke up, so I haven't really checked yet. What else? Oh yeah, so passenger. Skill 1 if you want to be AFK, but otherwise overshadow, not overshadow. Otherwise is weaker than the skill 2, which is his general skill to use for. And then skill 3, I've heard can be somewhat as a pseudo boss killer, but otherwise it's more for wave killing. Or if you're like my friend, you use it as a panic button. Something like that I guess, but yeah. Not all three of the skills, skill 2 is actually very strong and skill 3 does have its own niche. But yeah, it's map and enemy dependent, so situational I guess. Oh yeah. Hang. Skill 1, just will never use it. It's guarded by Arknights to be honest. Has so much potential. Skill 2 is kind of janky because both of the fact how the SP is charged, how you charge up the skill, as well as the attack interval increase, as well as the fact that attack isn't really that much since he is a guardian, healing defender, so his attack is generally only lower than most operators. So skill 2 would be the general skill user, but even then it really isn't that good. In most cases, Gami actually would be better, but does have the niche of the increased defense, so allows him to hold lanes better, as well as the SP recover, the janky has SP recovery, I guess. But yeah, very situational operator. And Mia, and skill 1 you generally won't be using it unless you're trying to go for some wacky stuff or just playing around. It's actually quite a fun one, because you know, if you're lucky enough, the autos can infinitely store like Patriot if they dodge enough attacks. But yeah, by no means a bad skill, just generally won't be using it since it's RNG based. And then skill 2 is actually a very strong burst skill. As well as the fact it's done, as well as the fact that you retrieve them so you can redeploy them afterwards. So deploy them, clear one wave, quickly redeploy them, prepare for the next wave, and then boom, prepare for the third wave, stuff like that. So it actually does help out. It's actually a very strong one. So the retrieval also allows you to redeploy your autos in different areas. If you're just using like the autos for like the arts damage burst, like I used to for my IS, yeah, the fact you retrieve them, she does allow you to like specifically like target which lane or which area you want to have the burst of damage. So yeah, very strong summoner, just that generally is overshadowed by Magalan and Cian. But if you decide to pick up and learn how her skill is how to use her skill 2, she will reward you greatly. Yeah. And then Istina. Skill 1 is the specific skill, the condition specific skill, but it's actually a very strong skill that actually does great damage against a single target as well as having a perma slow on them. So yeah, a very strong skill. And then skill 2, which is the skill that most people use, where it's the general skill that people use, where she has like a become somewhat like a pseudo AI. Yeah, a pseudo AI that slows. I mean yeah. So by no means bad as well. If anything, in certain conditions, is actually better than Angelina skill 3. So yeah, I think that's really more or less about it, I guess. If you do decide to pull on a banner, I don't think I will, since I'm trying to get potentials on my counter. But if you do decide to pull on it, I guess if you want, maybe if you want to, leave it down in the comments, I guess, if you want to. What else is there? If you want, I guess, if you want to talk about any other operators, you can tell me. And I do want to talk about like the recent stuff that happened on Reddit about them complaining about Siege and their plan falling off, I guess. I'll probably be recording it after this one and uploading like today as well. But yeah, if you decide to put on a banner, feel free to tell me in the comments, I guess, if you want to. It's small enough, I guess. What's the usual the YouTube stuff, I guess. People will talk about like the like and subscribe thing, I guess. If you want to, I guess you can. But it can help me grow, I guess, but I guess it won't really matter much. Yeah, I think that's really more or less about it, I guess. So yeah, overall, it's not really a priority, not really a banner to pull for. I guess if you really would want to pull for, the only reason why I can see is probably for Bagpipe. But yeah, not a priority banner to pull for, but yeah. So overall, I won't be pulling for it. I think that's really more or less about it. Yeah. This has been Dogcesy. Bye bye.